People decide to live the hard life in their countries in search of a better life in other countries. However, sometimes things don't turn out the way they expected them to be. Problems they find in other countries may include late salary payments or no salary at all, long working hours, little rest, torture, threats, and many other problems they may find. This video is made specifically for runaways in the United Arab Emirates, but in particular Dubai. People who decide to just leave their employment, maybe it's maids or casual laborers, and they just decide to run away for their life. If you want to clear your visa status, this video is made for you. Or if you know someone who is a runaway and wants to clear their visa status now, this video is made for them. You can either share this video so that they can find it, or you can watch and explain to them what to do. If you're on this channel for the first time, I need you to subscribe, and you can click the notification bell so that every time we have a new video, you will be the first to know. If you already subscribed, thank you so much. If you have any question or clarification, you can leave a comment in the comments box. But if you need any private consultation or private inquiry, you can find my contact details on the home page in the About page. Let's get started. Before I start giving you my opinions, my suggestions, I need to make it clear that I'll give the opinions, I'll give the suggestions, but the final decision and responsibility is yours. So you need to take time to understand. If you have a question, ask it before you can take any action. Analyze your situation. Your situation may be different from another person's situation, and then compare with the notes I'm giving and find which one is the best option for you. Many people move to the United Arab Emirates or to Dubai in search for a safe and better job. However, like I said before earlier, things may not turn out the way we expected them to be. The expectations are this high, but the reality is this low. This causes a lot of tension, a lot of panic, a lot of frustration, and many people decide to run away as the only alternative or the only option to save their life. When things get so tough and unbearable, people decide to run away and start living illegally in the United Arab Emirates. This is very common with maids. Let's call them house helpers, or kadama. Kadama is the Arabic word for house helper, for those who didn't know. But it's not only maids, they are casual laborers who find it so tough, so hard for them, and they also run away. So in Dubai or in the United Arab Emirates, there are so many people who ran away from their employments, not only maids. There are different sectors where people decide to just run away for their life or due to very hard or tough conditions. There are small companies in the United Arab Emirates, like in Dubai, that are also struggling. Such companies fail to pay salaries, and also the conditions in which their employees are living may be so tough. People working in such companies may also decide to run away. Boys or girls may decide to run away. Sometimes we may never be able to tell who is right and who is wrong. There are some bosses who are not easy to work with, but there are also some employees who are not easy to work with. Judging who is right and who is wrong is not something I can do. I leave it for you. If you're in this situation, you know better what happened, you know better what's on ground. Who is right and who is wrong is not my responsibility. At this point, I just want to see how we can help people in that situation to come clean and either get a new job in the United Arab Emirates or go back home. Let us briefly look at some of the reasons why people run from their bosses. In this case, I'll look at maids because I've heard so many stories from maids firsthand about the reasons why they decide to leave their homes or their bosses. Many of the maids come to the United Arab Emirates promised different jobs, and when they get to Dubai, they find out that they are sold as housemaids to other agents. Another reason is the salaries are not paid as they were promised when they're leaving their countries. Some are promised about 1,500 when they're leaving their countries, but when they get to Dubai, they only find out they are paid only less than 1,000, maybe 1,000 or less than 1,000 dirhams per month. Another reason related to salaries is some are not even paid their salaries, or the salaries are paid late after 2 months or after 3 months. That's another reason they decide to just leave and go find something else. In some situations, the workload is just too much. If you have a family of maybe 8 people with about 5 kids, there's a lot of work in such a house. Those are big houses with a big family, and the workload is just too much and unbearable. Another complaint related to workload is very little rest. If someone is sleeping very late, past 2, and then waking up very early, maybe about 5, they're having only 3 hours of sleep. That's not enough for any normal human being. So they end up feeling body fatigue, muscle pains, and in the end they decide to run away. In some situations, there are life threats from the bosses. In this situation, anyone will run for their life. Situations of the main lady in the house suspecting the house helper of having an affair with the husband. If this comes into play, the only option may be to run away before it's too late or before you get in trouble. Some families have got traditions that are not common. Some norms, some practices that they do either at night or in certain rooms that may be scary. In such situations, many maids decide to just run away before it's too late for them. Enough of problems or reasons why people run away. Now let's get into understanding what happens when people run away. When people usually run away from their bosses or from their jobs, they do not have their passports and they do not have money. They have no money to rent or to spend on basics like food, water, anything. And if they fall sick, they still have no insurance and they have no money to spend on medical bills. The sponsors will normally file an absconding report in the Ministry of Immigration, so that puts them again in more trouble. Runaways in the United Arab Emirates or in Dubai who do not have a family or relative or friend who can host and support them in that situation may end up in hands of wrong elements who take advantage of their situation. This happens a lot, especially with ladies, but even with men it can happen. Without a passport and no valid visa, it is very hard or even impossible for a runaway to get a job in an organized company. They may end up getting illegal small jobs, and in the end, they're not even paid or they're mistreated and they have to keep hiding from authorities all the time. Even when the runaway is tired of living in the United Arab Emirates or in Dubai and they want to go back home, they can't without their passport. And sometimes they have an absconding report case on them and also overstay fines. Because if you run away and stay for more than maybe 6 months, overstays will start counting the moment your boss reports an absconding. So in such situations, you are stuck with absconding file, with a ban maybe, and overstay. All this on one person. Now that we've already described what runaways go through, for those who didn't know, now let's describe some of the options someone may try. Let us break this down into 2 categories. The first category is for those who are lucky enough to run away with their passports, and the second category is those who are not that lucky and they ran away without their passports. Let's start with those with their passports because that is easier. The first option is taking advantage of the UAE Visa Amnesty. This is the best opportunity for anyone who is having visa issues, overstays, bans, or absconding, etc. If the government of the United Arab Emirates announces a general amnesty for 2021, we don't know if and when that will happen, the UAE General Visa Amnesty is the best opportunity for anyone who is having visa issues. If you have overstay fines and absconding, if the General Visa Amnesty is announced, whenever it is announced, then you can just follow the instructions that come along with the announcement and you can get your visa status rectified, especially if you have your passport. You just present yourself with a passport and you will be either requested to pay a small fee, a service fee, which may be less than 500 dirhams, and your status will be cleared. You may have to either pay for a new visa to start a new fresh visa to look for jobs, or buy an air ticket back home. But your visa status will be cleared and you won't have any bans in this case if you take advantage of the General Visa Amnesty. Right now, it is not yet announced for 2021 and we are not sure if it will be announced or when it will be announced. Maybe it will come 2022, no one knows until some announcement comes from officials, from authorized official media channels. The second option for people who have run away with their passports is to negotiate with their sponsor or their boss to remove the absconding file if it has been filed on them, and also cancel their visa. If the visa is cancelled, then this person has an option to apply for a new visit visa so that they can search for a job in Dubai or buy the air ticket and go back home. Sometimes you may be asked for some money, maybe 2,000, 3,000 or 5,000 depending on the sponsor, if they want to recover the money they paid for filing the absconding file. Sometimes if you're lucky, they may not ask you for anything, but that is very, very rare. Most of them will try to ask you for money, especially if you worked for a very short time, if it's less than 1 year. But if it's more than 1 year, you may be lucky and your sponsor may say, okay, make sure you leave the country or make sure you show me that new visa that you purchased. The last option I can suggest for those who have run away with their passports is surrendering to Al Awir Immigration Office and request for waiving of the overstay fines, waiving of absconding, and giving you an exit pass. This is very, very possible. This is like amnesty, but for an individual amnesty. You go and request for all this, then you'll be told to pay a certain fee, which is a service fee, if you don't have any criminal files. If you do not have any criminal file, any police case or court case, then you'll be requested to pay about 250 dirhams for the exit pass. And you'll need to have proof of your air ticket back home, one-way ticket, and also you'll need to have a COVID test. If you have that, then you'll be allowed to exit the country. You'll be given about 7 days, but because of the COVID test, you may need to go out earlier than that. It has only 72 hours before you can leave the country. If in case you have minor cases filed on you, then you may need to pay about 600 dirhams to get the cases cleared and you get the exit pass. But if there are major cases, then you'll have to go to court, get a judgment, and if you clear the judgment or the sentence, then you'll be allowed to receive an exit pass, then you can leave the country. So option number 3 is for those who want to leave the country. If you want to stay and you go to Al Awir with all the overstays and absconding, it may not work for you. So you have to go there when you want to leave the country. So let's see the options for runaways without a passport. Even for people who run away without their passports, the UAE General Visa Amnesty is still the best option they have. If the government of the United Arab Emirates ever decides to announce a UAE Visa Amnesty 2021 or 2022, then a runaway can easily follow the steps that come along with the announcement and rectify their visa status to either leave the country or get a new visa and search for jobs in the United Arab Emirates or in Dubai. But since this person does not have a passport, they may need to also go to their embassy or their consulate to process either a new passport or a travel document if they have to leave and go back to their country. But even if they have to stay in the United Arab Emirates, you cannot stay legally without a passport because the visa has to be attached to the passport. A full process will have to be followed, including reporting a lost passport to police. For the full process, I'll put a link below to the video that explains how you can go step by step in processing a new passport if you lost it in the United Arab Emirates. But if your passport was handed over to immigration by your sponsor, then the immigration will be able to trace it and get it for you. Sometimes the bosses are stubborn, they may not be able to recover it from you. Then the immigration will advise you on what to do step by step to get a new passport or a travel document to go back home. Second option is negotiating with a sponsor for those who ran away without their passports. In this case, you want to negotiate with your sponsor or your boss to 1, remove or withdraw the absconding file, 2, cancel your visa, and 3, to return your passport. In many cases, you'll be asked to pay an amount which I cannot specify, but they can specify to you. That is mainly to recover the recruiting fees they paid and the amount they paid when they are filing the absconding. So it can range from 2,000 to 5,000. Some people are stubborn, they'll even refuse. But if they accept, then you'll need to show proof of either a new visa, visit visa, or an air ticket going back home. because they won't have you in the country when you're under their sponsorship. If the sponsor is not accepting to negotiate, then you may have to file a case against them in the immigration or the labor court. In case at the time of negotiation your visa expired or it had been cancelled earlier, then you'll have to pay for overstay fines. Or you can follow the next option we have, number 3. The last option, even for those without passports, is to surrender themselves to Al Awir Immigration Office. But this again is for those who want to return home. You don't go there if you want to change your visa. If you want to return home, you're tired of living in Dubai illegally, then you can surrender yourself to the immigration office in Al Awir. You ask for waiving of absconding and overstays and request for an exit pass. They may be able to trace your passport if it had been handed over to the immigration. But if not, then you may have to go through the process of getting a new passport through your embassy or your consulate, or getting a travel document. If you want to know about the whole process of getting a new passport, you'll check the link below in the description. I already made a video on what you have to do. But if they can get it and they can trace it in the immigration, then that's good for you. You will need to have money to buy the air ticket and to do the COVID test, because you'll need that proof before they can give you an exit pass. The exit pass will cost you about 250 dirhams if you do not have any file with the police or with the court, with the labor court. But if you have any files, any cases, then you'll be charged about 600 dirhams to get yourself cleared and get the exit pass. If you have any major cases, then you'll have to first go to court, clear them, then they can organize or arrange your exit pass. When you get that exit pass, you have only 7 days to leave the country, but because of the COVID test, which gives you 72 hours, you may have to leave earlier than that. Now, in any case, if you ever get an exit pass and you fail to exit the country, then you're in big trouble. You can never apply again for amnesty. You cannot be neutralized without going to jail. In case you get the exit pass and don't exit, the next time you go to an immigration, you'll have to go to jail. So do not get that exit pass and stay in the country. Get it, leave the country. After all this is said, you need to take time to watch this video, understand it, compare your situation and see what will work for you, and then decide the best action according to your situation and what I've discussed. If you need any more clarification, please feel free to leave a comment or question in the comment box. That's all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for subscribing, and if you haven't, please do subscribe. Click the notification bell so that we notify you every time we have a new video uploaded.